We are live.
Thank you, Priscilla. So I will call this meeting of the Ad Hoc Cities Advisory Committee to order. Ad Hoc Committee specifically tasked with the fiscal year 22 and fiscal year 23 work plan. I will ask Erica to go ahead and do roll call. And Erica, if you can do roll call by city name, and then if you are that person representing the city, if you could provide your full name and title for our record purposes. So go ahead, Erica.
Okay, so roll call. Carlsbad.
Paz Gomez, Deputy City Manager for Public Works.
Thank you. Chula Vista.
Tiffany Allen, Director of Development Services, City of Chula Vista.
Coronado. Absent. Del Mar.
Ashley Jones, Interim City Manager.
El Cajon. Absent. Encinitas.
Jennifer Campbell, Assistant City Manager.
Escondido. Absent. Imperial Beach.
Tyler Foltz, Community Development Director.
La Mesa. Absent. Lemon Grove. It's absent. National City.
Puerto Llano, Director of Public Works, City Engineer.
Oceanside.
Jonathan Borrego, Deputy City Manager, Oceanside.
Poway.
Wendy Casterman, Assistant City Manager, Poway.
San Diego.
Adrian Granda, Director of Government Affairs, City of San Diego.
San Marcos. It's absent. Santee.
Arlene Best, City Manager, City of Santee.
Solana Beach. It's absent. And Vista.
Patrick Johnson, City Manager.
Okay. Okay, there is a quorum with 11 cities present.
Thank you, Erica. And so again, my name's Keen Simons. I've had the pleasure of, I think, meeting most of you, and if not all of you, hello. The reason for the meeting for the newbies is this is your biennial check-in on the world of San Diego LAFCO, and in particular, just being aware of the things that we are up to that directly affect your jurisdictional boundaries, or perhaps indirectly affect you in the sense that they affect the special districts that may be operating within or close to your boundaries. So again, we restarted this committee probably about 2 years ago now. And again, the goal is just so everyone at the cities has a real-time understanding of what we're up to, and just to create a line of communication going forward. So with that said, I did want to do a little introductions of the LAFCO staff that is present today. Of course, a premise to that is we've also had quite a bit of turnover at LAFCO, so some new faces are present. I mentioned I'm Keen Simons, I'm the executive officer. We have Priscilla Allen, who is our analyst one, who is also doing double duty today on the Zoom and YouTube page. Erica is doing our committee clerking today. I think Tammy is off this afternoon. And then I wanted to stop here and introduce our very newest member of the team, Carol Ann, who is a graduate intern, just finished up her studies at Cal State Long Beach, and among other things is taking over some of the MSR work up in North County. So Carlsbad, Oceanside, Vista, and San Marcos, you will get to interact, or your staff will get to interact more with Carol Ann as we go forward. So with that, let's go right into the agenda. I put down a hard stop at 2 o'clock, and for the veterans of this group, you know that I'm pretty good of keeping my word when we come to an end. So we do have, oh, I should also note before I forget, we are set up to take public comments in the event we actually get public comments, which I would love to generate. So every so often, I will check in with Erica to see if any email comments come in or if we had any registered speakers. So that said, let's go right to the agenda itself. We have one action item for the committee. Don't worry if you weren't here to actually be present at the meeting. So long as you are representing your agency and your agency was here, we do have minutes for the last meeting on April 9th. Prepared by staff in summary format. Be great if we could get a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Paz. How about a second?
This is Wendy, second.
Thank you, Wendy. So we have a motion by Carlsbad, a second by Poway to approve the minutes prepared in your packet as is. We do need to do a roll call. So Erica, if you'd be kind enough to go down the list.
Carlsbad,
Aye.
Chula Vista,
Aye.
Coronado was absent, Del Mar,
Aye.
El Cajon was absent, Encinitas,
Aye.
Escondido was absent, Imperial Beach,
Yes.
La Mesa is absent, Lemon Grove is absent, National City,
Aye.
Oceanside,
Aye.
Poway,
Aye.
San Diego,
Abstain. I think they were absent last time.
San Marcos, absent, Santee,
Aye.
Solana Beach was absent, and Vista,
Aye.
okay, we have 10 in favor with 1 abstaining. The motion passes.
Thank you, committee. And this brings us now to the first of 2 discussion items we have for the group today, again, with the premise to get this on your radars because it will, in both cases, directly and indirectly, in different ways, affect your jurisdiction. So the first discussion item is 4B, and that's an update on our adopted work plan. So first and foremost, in your packet, I think, let's see here, starting on page 9, you'll see our summary discussion of the 30 things or projects that our commission signed off on Lafka staff to tackle during the fiscal year. Attachment 1 is the actual listing of all the projects in their priority order. A couple of them we've actually already hit. We've completed our office move. For those in the cities who have always wondered, why is Lafka embedded in the county? Well, we've addressed that question and we are now physically out of the county in Bankers Hill. We have also finished up a policy on translation protocols. Some of you, I bet, especially the planners in you, when you do noticing, may have that question, well, at what threshold do we translate this notice or this document into a different language? Well, that was something that was coming up for us at LAFCO. So after some thought to it, we set the parameter at 20%, which for us means anytime we do anything of county-wide nature, we will certainly be translating it into Spanish. And then as we go into particular communities, I'm sure that 20% will hit other languages as well. But what I wanted to do as part of this item is talk about 2 projects that are in the works right now that do have an interest and impact on the cities. And the first one is there's this troubling statute out there, Government Code, Section 56133. And that's the section that tells all of you who represent cities as well as special districts, whenever you want to go ahead and provide a municipal service, whatever that may be, water, wastewater, parks, the list could go on and on. But you don't necessarily want to do it through an annexation for whatever the political or geographic reason. Well, there's a statute on the books that says you need to come to LAFCO and you need to get a formal approval. And then the statute gives LAFCO some direction on how to go about that approval process. And the idea is, committee, we love boundaries, and generally speaking, we really don't like doing outside service contracts, but we know that sometimes they're necessary and sometimes they're an appropriate alternative, okay, to formal boundary expansions. So with that premise in mind, we also know by way of the legislature, there's certain things that perhaps don't require a formal approval process. And the legislature has identified a handful of those in a subsection. And that subsection is also provided in your packet. It's a short section, 56133E. So if you were to look at page 15 of your packet, you'll see that there's about 4 or 5 exemptions to the rule. Well, LAFCOs assume that those exemptions are determined by LAFCOs. Makes sense. It's a LAFCO statute. Everything else goes through LAFCO. However, what we have found out by some of your special district partners here in San Diego is the idea that some believe that they can self-exempt themselves. Now, a lot of the times, we would agree with them that whatever service arrangement that they've come up with probably does warrant an exemption under the legislation. However, we know, and I'm pleased to note Commission Counsel Alex Gagarison has joined us, that there are instances where, hey, the agency's got it wrong. They should have come to LAFCO, and then there's this process of trying to reel back the service arrangement that not only conflicts with our growth management interests, but what we have experienced, it creates conflicts with others. A while ago, before I was here, there was a conflict between the great cities of Imperial Beach and Coronado. We have dealt with issues with our healthcare districts, and we are dealing with issues with resource conservation districts. Again, because these agencies deduce that they were self-exempting themselves. That's the problem, committee. Our proposed solution, and the commission has felt strongly enough about this where we've made it a priority project, is to find a legislative remedy, go to the Capitol and say, let's be clear about this, that the exemptions that are listed under this statute mean, first and foremost, that LAFCO signs off of them. We've added that it could be done by the executive officer as a way to kind of fast track that decision making, but just for the benefit of being clear. So in the world of Oceanside wanting to provide an outside service to their friends in Carlsbad or vice versa, or San Diego wanting to provide or receive services from Lemon Grove, that even if it looks like it's exempt under subsection E, that you would still need to do this check-in with LAFCO. I think this is a relatively benign activity, but I appreciate this can be a bit of a heartache for some of our local agencies. What I want to make sure that the committee is aware that this is something of interest to LAFCO, that we are, with the help of Adam Wilson, who's joined our call as our consultant on, among other things, this topic. We are actively working with CalLAFCO, our statewide association, and looking to introduce legislation for 2022 that would go to this issue. And so again, the remedy that we have come up with is in track change form on page 15 of your agenda report. And again, the idea is, let's just make it explicit that the exemptions that are there, that LAFCO or the executive officer makes that call. So that's the first of 2 priority projects that we're going to be working on. Let me talk about the second one, and if there's questions on either or of any of the work plan, we can do that as well. As many of you know, and Vista is certainly aware of this because they're working on one, or in fact, they've submitted one already. State planning law, at least in the Lafka section, is premised on this idea that we like to see urban services within cities. And whenever possible, the orientation is at Lafka is to take either planned or existing urban uses, move them away from the city, or excuse me, move them away from the county and bring them into the cities. The state has saw fit to create certain expediting processes to make arguably the low fruit of these activities even more easy to accomplish, and in particular when it comes to island annexations, right? So an island, in the most easiest way to define, is those pockets of unincorporated land that most of your cities, not all, but most of your cities have, in which you completely surround this pocket. And those are really easy to call an island. There's no ambiguity to it. And the way the law is set up now, so long as that area is 150 acres or less in size and some other criteria is met, if your city council of any of the 18 cities comes to LAFCO and says, hey, we want to annex this island, not only does the legislature tell us, LAFCO just say yes, don't even try to interfere with it. They also waive protest proceedings, which is a big deal, right? So if there was objection from the community that, hey, if we get annexed into the city of San Diego, we're going to lose our, perpetual RV parking rights or whatever the issue being, the legislature said, too bad. We're going to waive protest proceedings. And so long as that city council has gone through the process of applying at LAFCO, it's a done deal. What our policies have never really addressed, but is of interest to most of you, is this idea of what is referred to as a substantially surrounded island, right? So the law applies to both entirely surrounded pockets, islands, as well as substantially surrounded islands or pockets. This LAFCO has purposely decided in its past not to define substantially surrounded, and instead the existing policies, we call it L105, and a copy of it is attached to your packet, is that we deal with the concept of what is a substantially surrounded island on a case-by-case basis. Now, obviously the pro aspect of this is tons of flexibility for LAFCO and cities to work together in deciding when the expedited annexation process works. Now, the con side of this is, and our friends in El Cajon may recall, is when we don't define substantially surrounded, there may be a difference of opinion. A city may decide, hey, this is surrounded on 3/4 by the city, the expedited annexation proceeding should apply. LAFCO, and perhaps we've done this in the past, said, nah, we don't think it's substantially surrounded, so we're not going to apply that process. So there's been some past conflict, but my comment as the executive officer is we're not informing the public as to what they should expect by not having a definition. So we are going to go about a process very soon, and we're going to work with certainly your planning departments in first mapping all potential iterations of what islands would be based on different thresholds, whether it be 50% plus one, or maybe 90% being substantially surrounded, and get an idea of what would qualify as an island. And then talk about at the city advisory committee, but then ultimately at the commission, what would be a good threshold. I could offer up my own instinct is, I think 66.6% is a good definition, without having done any of the mapping in San Diego to know what that means for any of you. But just generally speaking, when I think of substantially surrounded, I think 2/3 is a good number. Now, maybe all of you will think it should be higher or lower. Maybe the commission will think it's higher or lower, but I want to offer up that's kind of our lean in as we walk into this. So if you have an unincorporated area that is at least 2/3 surrounded by your boundaries, chances are you're going to hear this LAFCO staff talk about that being subject to the island annexation proceeding. And again, we're going to do some mapping work on this project. For some of you, and in particular in the North County, this will be of interest to you because the island issue is a little more prevalent. I don't think Imperial Beach or Coronado need to worry about island annexations, but perhaps the others will at least have that in mind. And I would like to think of it as a tool for all of you under the joint assumption that we want to make your boundaries as whole and as logical as possible. So those are the two main work plan projects that we have going for us. At least we'll focus in on the next or second quarter of this fiscal year. There's 28 others. 2 of them I think we've talked about that we've completed. Another one we're going to talk about actually separate with Adam, but using your hand raise feature on the system, does anyone have a question about the work plan, about any of the projects? And let me just make sure I am looking. So seeing none, which is fine by me. Oh, hold on. Good for Paz Gomez, coming in late, but nevertheless. Paz, what say you?
So my question is more with regards to the process. You said that the mapping is going to be done and then be brought forward to the city's advisory committee before it goes to the commission. And that's, would that be for the proposed change or, for voting or, with regards to the policy, or is it just, something that we'll just have for discussion and see what the proposal would be, whether it's 2/3 or 3/4 or 50% plus 1. Is that?
Yeah, so it's a bit of, fluid. My assumption is I would like, if not a vote, at least to know that the committee, when we meet next in March, generally has consensus that this is a good approach, whether it's the 66%. Maybe all of you will say, no, we like it on a case by case for our own reasons. We don't want it defined. But I would imagine that between now and January, our GIS person, is going to be working on a couple of scenarios. We'll send them off to each city saying, hey, under these scenarios, these islands are going to get picked up in your number total. What say you? For some, I would imagine it's kind of a shoulder shrug. Maybe you're indifferent. It depends on what the community wants. Some others, it will be more sensitive. But come March, my desire would be to get some firm feedback from the committee before the commission weighs in on it. But it would be something that before the end of the fiscal year we would work on. Does that answer the question, Paz?
Sort of. So we're going to get the maps, each of the individual cities that will be prepared in January. Will the proposal be firmed at that time, or is this when we meet in March, we will be discussing that, yes, we agree 2/3 is good, or actually have the deliberations at that time on what we would like to do?
I think it'd be fair that based on the feedback we would be getting offline from the planning departments, that me and staff would come to this committee with probably a recommendation, maybe under the phrase suggestion, to at least start the conversation. And then the committee could react to that and say, well, we want it higher or lower. And just for the context, I did a little search among the other 57 LAFCOs. It goes all over, right? San Bernardino has been aggressive on island annexations, and they're at 50%, right? Which means a whole lot of islands get picked up. Whereas, Fresno is something like 88% or some number, which helps to explain when you're in Fresno, by the way, it's not the easiest boundary to city relationship that you intuitively can pick up on. But there are certainly other stakeholders in this. I know elections would very much like to have a very low threshold so we can help annex these pockets, because every island creates one, if not dozens, of individual precincts, right? Because you are creating, in some cases, one precinct for one voter or one household because of the way the lines are drawn. There are others that we will probably want to bring into the conversation, but the cities are first and foremost the driver. If this committee says, for example, we want it to be 75%, it'd be very hard for me to imagine as staff we would go against that recommendation, because it would be safe sailing for us just to tell the commission 18 of the cities are represented. They all want 75%. Let's go with that.
Right.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So part of it is we're going through the redistricting. I'm sure that's probably true for other cities as well. And so there could potentially be an impact, right, with regards of if we move forward, and usually the redistricting is tied to, to the census. So is there a possibility that we could get some of those mapping a little bit sooner rather than later, and then maybe having that conversation sooner?
Yeah, and I had not tied that in my thinking. So that is something we can certainly do. Is, of course, our GIS expert at Lafka. He's off on vacation. So without committing him to a deadline, let me see how fast we can turn that around. There are certain cities I know we don't have to do the mapping for, Coronado, Imperial Beach, but I'm guessing we probably can get at least some of you the maps relatively quickly and go from there. So thank you for that suggestion. Any other comments? I did see we had one new member join us. Hi, Sean from Escondido. So any other questions, comments? Seeing none, keep in mind you are always welcome to provide us input offline on any of our projects. I do want to now talk about, going down to our next discussion, which is 4C, and that is to give the cities an update on what has proven to be a rather unique and layered project, and that is the Fallbrook Rainbow reorganization and possible exit from the Water Authority. So I'm going to ask our consultant, Adam Wilson, just to give this group an update. And I don't see Lydia Romero online, so I will entrust Adam with doing the entire update. Take it away, Adam.
Thank you, Keen, and good afternoon, everybody. I just take a quick second to do a minor introduction on myself. I see a few familiar names and faces, but for any of those that are out there that don't know me or we have not crossed paths, my name is Adam Wilson. For the last 17 years, I had the honor and privilege to work for County Supervisor Diane Jacob. With her term and career expiring this past January, I've been privileged to get the opportunity to come on and work for Keen in a consultant capacity. And one of the projects, or at least the main project that I've been tasked to project manage is the one which I'm about to update here you in a second. So which Keen highlighted from a very 30,000 foot level. It's the Rainbow Fallbrook proposal for potential detachment from the County Water Authority, and for them to go receive services through an annexation to Eastern Municipal, which is in the County of Riverside. With that said, we have formed a 10-member ad hoc committee. We are meeting monthly with that committee, and all parties prior to the start of that ad hoc committee agreed on the hiring of an independent consultant whose name is Dr. Michael Hanneman, and he has been tasked to study and analyze the issue and proposal at hand. And he's been focused on 3 issues which he's been tasked to do related to 3 topics. 1 being water reliability, 2 being any impacts to cost or rates, and then the 3rd one being any sort of potential departure or exit fee that would be associated with the proposal. So at this point in time, Dr. Hanneman is concluding his analysis in terms of forming a draft report and a draft study. That should be provided to the ad hoc committee early next week, hopefully as soon as Monday. That's going to give the ad hoc committee members an opportunity to digest the information, to digest the study. And then the ad hoc committee plans to circle up again on October 4th to have a more robust dialogue and conversation and deliberation regarding the studies. And so at that point, we'll provide Dr. Hanneman the feedback. He will go back and continue to work on materializing that that draft report into a final report, and then all in the hopes of getting this report out to a 45-day public review, and with the ultimate goal of having the ad hoc committee providing a final recommendation to the LAFCO commission and passing the torch over to Keen and his staff to continue their staff report and ultimately get it to the LAFCO commission for decision. So that is the project and process and timelines in a nutshell. I'm available if there's any questions or comments at this point in time.
I have a question.
Very good. Thanks, Adam. I see, or I apologize. I have one hand raised from Paz.
Okay. So you had indicated October 4th and then the final report. I think I missed a date there. You had mentioned 45 days. When is the target date for the final report?
So not to use a water pun, but everything seems to be a little fluid right here. But so the ad hoc committee will circle up again on October 4th.
Right.
At that point in time, they'll discuss the draft report that Dr. Hanneman has provided. I would imagine and suspect the committee would circle up again sometime in November. And then we've also circled a date right now at this point in time, it to be December 13th for a final recommendation for the ad hoc committee to provide to the LAFCO commission. So tentative date, December 13th, everything seems to kind of be moving a little here and there, but at this point in time, that's kind of the schedule that we're trying to keep track on.
Thank you.
Wendy, go ahead.
So somewhat related to Paz's question, when that ad hoc committee meets on the 4th, will the draft report that they're reviewing be published as part of an agenda that we could look at? And is that meeting held virtually that we'd be able to watch it if we were so inclined?
Correct. That October meeting will be a public meeting. So any members of the public and or yourselves are more than welcome to participate. It's agendized just like today's meeting is. And so there will be an agenda and it will be a part of that agenda as an item. And so if anybody in this committee or of anybody else that would like to participate in the process, they're more than welcome.
Keen, would that be something you could send out to this committee, a link to that meeting when it's posted?
Absolutely. And that's a good suggestion. Very good. I don't see any other questions. Up. Hold on. City of San Diego, Adrian.
Sorry, just a clarifying question for Adam. So for the October 4 meeting, I'm guessing typical Brown Act rules apply. So there'd be an agenda posted 72 hours in advance. Would that be when the expected, report would be published, or I thought I heard you say it might be as early as Monday?
So Dr. Hanneman's going to provide a draft report to the ad hoc committee in advance for them to kind of digest and go over it internally. Then it will be made available to the public at that October 4th meeting when the ad hoc committee reconvenes. And so then public participation and so forth, and can have that dialogue and deliberation through that meeting.
Great, thank you.
Very good. And I just wanted to add, and Wendy, did you still have a question? Or okay.
Yes.
One of the things that is of interest.
I think she does.
Oh, you go ahead, Wendy.
Sorry, Adam, just a little nuance to what I think Adrian was asking. So when you post the agenda for the meeting, will that draft document be available? Or are you saying that it won't really be available to the public till you get in that meeting itself? and potentially Dr. Hanneman is presenting it during the course of the meeting.
No, so we'll post an agenda 72 hours prior to the October 4th meeting. That will be a part of the agenda that will be disclosed to the public for there to review before that October 4th meeting.
All right, thank you for that.
Yep, no problem.
And one thing that I wanted to remind the committee here is that many of your mayors wrote a letter. Oddly, it looked like the same letter, but nevertheless from different letterhead to Lafka a while ago saying, you know, among other things, requesting that Lafka make certain findings or determinations should we actually approve the reorganization. And I listed them up on page 20 of the agenda packet, and they mirrored what the Water Authority had identified. And one of those comments is that the mayors, a number of mayors have been on record saying that it can be demonstrated that the reorganizations will not adversely affect other county water authority members, that it will not adversely affect other county water authority members. And so I'm not, you know, adverse is an interesting word choice. And so one of the things that would help us as Adam shepherds this last leg of the ad hoc committee, and that this draft report from Dr. Hanneman becomes available, is for all of you to help us understand what your goal line is with respect to adverse. You know, will an impact to Paz Gomez and Carlsbad of, you know, $1 more in the rates be adverse, you know, or, you know, $5, you know,
Yes.
At some point, thank you, Paz. I'll use another example. You're too quick for me. You know, at some point, we'll look for this committee to help us understand, you know, is moving the needle at all adverse, or is there a threshold question? I will add, for those who want to get caught up on everything, on our website under resources, there is a page dedicated to this topic where we have dutifully listed all of the correspondence received, and that includes a recent letter from the Water Authority, a letter that I assume Rainbow and Fallbrook will respond to. But one of the things that the professor asked the committee members on August 16th was, look, or excuse me, of the subject agencies, hey, I'm going to come up with my own departure number, what I think is fair, but what say you? Could you give me an idea of what you think would be a fair departure number? So I know Fallbrook and Rainbow are thinking about this. Water Authority is now on record saying the number is 1.2 billion with a B. That's a big number for two North County water agencies. It may prove to be accurate to what the professor thinks. Maybe it's lower, maybe it's higher. But I think it is fair that whatever the departure number, if it's 0 or anything other, you know, anything beyond 0, it's probably something that all of your cities will want to pay attention to, just given the dynamics of how water is secured and paid for in the county. And I know that that's going to be a big conversation starting on August 16th. So again, I also am interested in understanding what adverse means to all of you as member agencies, directly or indirectly, of the Water Authority. So any other questions before we wrap this item up? Okay, very good. So with that said, and with 6 minutes to go, let us proceed to check in with Erica. And I probably should have done this before, but Erica, do we have any public comments on anything?
So far, no public comments received.
Let's go to our friend in Oceanside. Jonathan, we've perked your interest. What say you?
Just a quick question on part of the agenda, and sorry if I'm kind of going backwards here, but I noticed on the work plan that's attached to the agenda packet, it speaks to the status of various municipal service reviews. And, you know, as I know from our last meeting, Oceanside is at the top of the list. It shows our MSR is being underway, but to my knowledge, we haven't been engaged yet. So can you give me a quick status report on where we're at with that, or what we can expect moving forward?
Yes, and I apologize, Jonathan. I think it is underway in the sense that it was assigned a project manager who's now on maternity leave. You're one of the people that Carol's going to follow up with in terms of starting to develop the baseline information, but I'm going to make a note, and maybe we can talk directly to you at your convenience next week as we sync up. So my apologies.
No worries. Thanks for the update.
May I request also for Carlsbad, since we're in the same situation? Thank you.
Very good. So seeing no other questions, and again, thank you, Jonathan and Paz, for that feedback. Any of the members like to provide any announcements? Seeing none, and again, keeping to my word, we're going to adjourn this meeting at 1:56. The next meeting will be in March, likely whatever the third Friday is of March, but we'll send out a reminder for that. And some of you in the past have requested that before the calendar year ends, that I send out a letter to your respective councils asking for formal appointees. If that's still needed, just send me a note and I'll send a letter. Otherwise, again, we leave it for the most of you. The city manager does either is or appoints. In San Diego's case, it's the mayor. So we will keep the names as we have them unless you tell us otherwise. So thank you so much for taking 45 minutes of your Friday with us, and have a good weekend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.